And as far as Steve Cooper is concerned, it's my understanding that no, the Birmingham job is not for him. In his eyes, so we shall see in the fullness of time who actually lands that, now that Wayne Rooney is no longer in position. Rooney says, after being sacked yesterday by Birmingham City, time is the most precious commodity a manager requires, and I do not believe 13 weeks was sufficient to oversee the changes that were needed. Danny Murphy is alongside Simon and myself this morning. Danny, what do you think? Do you think it was time up for Rooney yesterday? No other decision, really?
I think it was difficult to give him any longer with the January window coming up. If you're going to make a change, that was the time to do it, because someone coming in will have his own ideas on what he wants and needs to improve the squad. Whereas if you left him in and he made the choice and it carries on going the way it was, you're stuck. So it wasn't a surprise, was it? What was it? 2 wins in 15.
2 wins from 15. Yeah.
I do look.
9 defeats.
I worked under a couple of managers that really did take time to implement their style and their beliefs on the team. I did. Roy Hodgson was a perfect example. I don't think we won a game under Roy. I think it was their 9th game, and there was some disgruntlement. And then when the penny dropped, because Roy's methods, it took a bit of training. It was like over and over and over, and then we didn't quite get it. And there was a big change we were trying to do at the time. And then we clicked in. But if they'd have pushed the button, who knows where Fulham would have ended up? That
Yeah.
So
of course.
I do understand it is a short space of time, but when you're hovering over the relegation spots in the Championship, it pushes the owners to make a decision, and irrelevant of whether they should have had him there in the first place or not. Now they've got to make the right one. I mean, I was listening to a bit of your show yesterday about potential candidates. I mean, I sat in the studio recently with Gary Rowett, and I have to say, I mean, he was unlucky when he lost the job originally and did a great job at Millwall. I like Gary. I think he would be perfect, and I think the Birmingham fans would be happy having him back.
Yeah, well, Rowett, one name in the frame. As I say, Steve Cooper, Simon, is my understanding that he feels the job would not be for him.
I'm not surprised by that, you.
Don't blame him.
You're not surprised by that. But you also feel, Simon, that a lot of the blame lays at the feet of Gary Cook, the chief executive, and the Birmingham City ownership.
Well, of course it does, because we make the observations. Now, of course, if you've got headstrong owners and they're going to do what they want to do, and that's the end of the discussion, then you're in a difficult position. But I listened to the diatribe that Cook put out when Wayne Rooney was appointed.
Diatribe.
And I understand potentially that he was still not adverse to giving Wayne Rooney some more time. If you're a new owner and you don't understand the landscape, which these guys clearly won't, then it's really quite important that you get given good advice. Graeme Souness sits in his studio repeatedly making the observation about the Chelsea owners. Who are they listening to? Who are they listening to? Well, you've got a guy here that's been responsible for now the most successful club in English football right now, Manchester City at a time, giving sage-like advice that alighted upon Wayne Rooney. Now, I don't know what was said. In all fairness, I don't know what was said to Wayne. I don't know what they said to him, what the brief was, what the expectations of it was. But this ridiculous argument about not being given enough time, he wasn't given enough time because he didn't do anything to merit being given any more time. That's not about the football club owners. That's about the performance that he's put in. If he wanted to change the style of the team, does that mean he jeopardises the entire standing of the football club's position inside the Championship to do that? Is that clever management? Is it about, he really didn't have his own players? Sometimes you have to work with what you've got, and you have to do it in bite-sized chunks, and an experienced, rounded, proper football manager would have gone, OK, this is going to take a little bit more, so maybe I need to compromise. But the discussions might have been from the outset, from the owners, looking at it with slightly uninformed eyes, we want Hollywood football. And so we want you to go instantaneously into that space. And we're prepared to go with you on the basis of there might be some pain along the way.
Yeah.
And they wanted fearless football. Well, as I said yesterday, they were fearful of relegation. So they made the decision pretty quick about not having the fear of relegation on their radar.
But Simon, when you're a name, and Rooney's a name, Rooney is a name
as a player
in the game.
As a player,
there are positives and negatives that come with that, though, aren't there? I mean, do you initially rise faster in management, but ultimately fall that much harder?
But you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should rise in management because you merit the opportunity, because you exhibit the quality and characteristics.
You should, but it's not real life, is it?
But it depends.
But it's you, the owners, who appoint people like Rooney and Lampard and Gerrard.
Well, it depends what you look at when you're interviewing somebody. And you look at a body of work and you look at the experiences. Like, say, for example, Steve Bruce was a young manager when he came to me. He was probably 39, which is 4 years older than what Wayne Rooney is now. And he came to me with a reputation of being a bit of a club hopper and a bit disloyal. because he jumped out of Sheffield United, jumped in.
Well,
and when
he proved it again.
Huddersfield, and he proved it to be the point. But the point is that I saw characteristics in him that were clearly evident to me as a leader, clearly evident as to why he was the Manchester United captain, and that had brought the championship back to Man United in the first time in 26 years and presided for a manager like Ferguson. And of course, Palace went top of the league under him. He left to go to Birmingham, and the story is the story. But I saw something in him, and I had clear visions as to what he was trying to achieve. I listened to Wayne Rooney mumble his way through press conferences. I listened to Wayne Rooney explain performances. When you need to be at your strongest is when you look to be at your weakest. And I don't think he can be a great communicator. So I'm wondering what must have been said besides, we really fancy the perceived stardust of Wayne Rooney, because you didn't have any body of work.
Yeah, Bruce, but hang on, did you not go after Bruce because there was stardust there as well? The former Manchester United captain.
I'll tell you why I went after Bruce, because Phil Smith insisted that I interview him. And when I did interview him,
Phil Smith, who? The
agent. And when I interviewed him, I gave him a very hard time about his disloyalty and why would I want a complete and utter, begins with W and ends in R, like him, working for me, because I didn't like his lack of loyalty. Waffler. But what Waffler, there you are.
Nice one, Danny.
But what I saw clearly was somebody that took Huddersfield into the top 6, that had done a decent job at Wigan, had done a decent job at Sheffield United, and clearly, if he got in the right environment, could do a decent job for me, which he did. What he didn't exhibit, it was the staying power. Yeah. Now, with Rooney, you look at the body of work and you say to yourself, Bruce interviewed like an absolute leader, right? I listened to Rooney, and I don't see any of that. And then I look at his body of work and I go, well, okay, what's my default position when I'm interviewing somebody? Okay, you've got a 27% win record in the MLS. Is that impressive? Not particularly. You've got this X amount of issues at Derby County. And yes, you were in an environment where you were managing an adversity. But you know what? Sometimes when you've got no choice, that's the best choice, because you've only got to choose what you've got and work with what you've got. Yeah. Then I see the off-the-pitch stuff, right? And then I look at you and the physicality of you, and none of it appeals to me. Not because I don't like him. I admire him as a football player. I think he had a remarkable career. I think it was short because he didn't look after himself the way he should have done. But notwithstanding it, his football achievements are remarkable. But that's as a player. He ain't no player. I don't want a player in my dugout. I don't want a player looking after my training ground. I want somebody that's capable of managing. And when I listened to Curtis Davies this morning, it's typical football tripe about how much time he's given. And by the way, at 36 years of age, if you're not coaching players, which is what Curtis Davies alluded to that he wasn't doing, he wasn't a coach, what the hell are you? You haven't got the experience to be a man manager.
So to follow that up, Danny, is that why the so-called golden generation in England are not doing it in the dugout? David James didn't do it. Gary Neville didn't do it. John Terry didn't do it. Sol Campbell didn't do it. Ashley Cole isn't really doing it. Lampard, mixed. Gerrard, mixed. Could end badly in Saudi. Paul Scholes, no, hasn't happened. Owen and Beckham haven't tried it. Wayne Rooney did, but failed.
The reason is because great players don't necessarily make great managers. It just doesn't correlate. So I used to think it would. What it does do, it gives you a leg up the ladder. And it gets you indoors that you wouldn't normally get in. And history has shown us that. And I agree with all Simon's points. And he's judging other people by his own intelligence or his own experiences.
Yeah, but your
and
name
the fact
gets him indoors, but you've got to stay indoors. You've got to stay in
position. You do, and actually, I tell you what it also does. I mean, when you get through the door, it gives you that little bit longer, because normally people who have been superb players get the opportunity at clubs where they've been really successful.
He says he didn't get enough time at Birmingham.
Well, he's going to feel that, isn't he? Because he'll feel that the longer it went on, the more he was going to get. But it didn't look like they were turning a corner. If anything, they were getting worse.
But it doesn't. I mean, that's kind of contradiction in terms, Dan, because there would be no interest in Birmingham City in the main media. It would be Premier League, Premier League, Premier League, Premier League. There's been a staple diet week on week about Rooney and Birmingham because it's Rooney. So actually, the shelf life becomes quicker because the focus becomes harder and faster and quicker.
Precisely.
Because it's dawn till dusk on Rooney.
Precisely right.
No, I was talking about
a
lot of. I'm talking more generally, not just about Rooney. I think more often than not, ex-players who've been superstars do get a bit longer because they are. They are the I don't know, the favourite or the. I mean, Lampard at Chelsea was a good example.
You know Rooney well, and
Gerrard didn't get long.
You know, you played against him, of course.
He got longer than he made probably some others.
When you look at it now, never mind Birmingham City, who's going to get it? Maybe Eustace, maybe I don't know, Gary Rowett. What next for Rooney? I mean, Rooney's saying, I want time out. I'm going to need time out for my family. Saudi. I've had it for the time being. As Simon says, is he going to follow Gerrard out to Saudi?
I would have, if I was Wayne Rooney, I would be look sitting back, self-analysing, and probably trying to find a job where I could learn my trade a bit more under somebody who's got a lot more.
Danny, he doesn't have it.
Doesn't have what?
He doesn't have it.
No, maybe he doesn't. I'm not suggesting he does. But if I was him, I'd be trying to educate myself more because I failed. So how do you educate? You put yourself in a room of people or in a club where somebody gives you an opportunity you can learn from and be under for a while, and maybe go.
Doesn't have.
I don't see any indications.
But they're different roles, a manager and a number two, and I don't see.
Okay,
doesn't have it anywhere.
I don't see him having the capability to manage a significant football club, and by that I mean Championship upwards.
I tend to agree with you, but you can be a coach and have a.
But he's not a coach. You've had Curtis Davies tell us in an incarnation that when he was managing at Derby,
well, then
he didn't coach.
Well, then he's got no chance.
He didn't coach. This is what Curtis said this morning because I listened to it on the
way
in.
I didn't hear it.
He didn't coach. He didn't do anything to do with the coaching. He had a series of coaches, and a lot of people attribute a lot of the credit at Derby to Liam Rossini, who's gone on, managed Derby, was unlucky to lose his job at Derby, ended up at Hull, and Hull are doing quite well. With that in mind, it follows, doesn't it? You're seeing a consistent theme. Now, nothing I've seen in the press tells me, and this is not meant to be derogatory, it will sound it, but it's not meant to be, he has the intellectual capability to be a man manager. Because man management requires psychology and it requires an ability to commuate.
He can't communicate. Rooney knows the game.
He knows the game as a player. He knows how to play. Players play individually. He was a centre forward or a false nine at times, but he was a player that played. Understands the game, but what does he understand about the psychology of players? He understands his own psychology. He understands what got him started and what got him finished at 33 years of age. He should still be playing now.
Do you know what's incredible? The more I think about the best managers I played under and what their characteristics were, and Simon makes some good points because sometimes you're thinking about these great ex-players, and my three best managers were all school teachers, and they were all brilliant at captivating a room and get engaging with a group of players. And they were.
Who are you talking about?
So Roy Hodgson, Gerard Houllier, and Dario Gradi, right? Three ex-school teachers who went into management, and they had coaches who were, you're working for them and doing different things and different strengths. But all three of them had the leadership qualities that Simon's talking about, where you could manage people and engage with them and have the emotional intelligence to understand them. Because actually, the football stuff's the easy bit. If you know your football.
Sure.
It's the other stuff that's getting more difficult.
Danny, what do you make of Darren, Tottenham fan, just as we head to the break? It's simple. Great players can't deal with lesser players.
All right, tell Pep Guardiola that.
Well, that's a different route in for it, isn't it? Because he got.
But look at who he's dealing with.
Sure, but he's also dealt with lesser players than some of the achievements that he's had in his life.
Well, Zidane's another one who had
got
success.
the top end.
Zidane had success at Madrid. Carlo Ancelotti was a player.
I had this argument because I made the same argument, which is more often than not you saw Teddy Sheringham go down. I think it was at Stevenage or Fleetwood, and they can't manage at that level. Sol Campbell didn't do badly.
It's not an exact science, is it?
And places like that, but he just didn't have the level of ambition from the owners to match his expectations. He wanted people to go on pre-season tours to the Alps and things like that.
It was that easy. Everyone would do it.
And that's right. But the only reason it's got any attention, let's be honest about it, is because it's Wayne Rooney. It's because, but the problem for Wayne is he shouldn't have been given this job.
No, that's fair.
He didn't deserve the job.
Right, so
that's not fair on him.
Listen, Simon, you've employed people. Of course you have in your time. Snap reaction, who would you give it to?
Again, it depends upon the condition of what you're looking at. Now, sometimes players down tools. Sometimes it's almost like a light switch. The sods will actually play for the next guy. And all of a sudden, what was terrible the previous day was brilliant the next, and you know that the players have down tools. It depends what you're looking at. Do I trust the judgment of those that are in situ at this moment in time? Probably not. But with the greatest respect and what I don't care that much about Birmingham City, but as far as Birmingham City fans are concerned, they're going to want to see a fix to this problem. And whether it's Eustace coming back because he got a tune out of them before.
I don't think fans want that.
Yeah.
Well,
or Rowett.
Rowett's a great one. He knows the club. He'll keep them up without a shadow of a doubt. Okay. And actually, the fans like him.
Yeah. Okay.
It's win-win.
Keep an eye on it, that's for sure.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.